Hello, everyone. Welcome back from lunch. Did you have good lunches? Yes. Good, yes. So I'm Neeta Ragoowansi from New York. And just quickly, by way of background, I've been an entertainment and tech lawyer for over 30 years. I was inside of helping to build Sound Exchange, which is the neighboring rights society in the United States. There for their first 8 years, wearing 17 different hats because we were a startup once upon a time, a nonprofit one, but still a startup. And gosh, I've co-founder of NPREX, which is a direct licensing platform. And my love is music licensing, and my love is about finding better ways to get creators and copyright owners paid and getting more money in their pockets. And it's a deep 30-plus year passion of mine. So I'm really excited to be moderating this amazing panel. And I'm excited to have a nice conversation with these wonderful people. Let's have them introduce themselves to us. I have wonderful Oliver here to my left. Tell us about yourself and why is this topic important to you?
Thank you, Neeta. Thank you for the invitation, for being here. And we have something in common. We have the same love for fair distribution and fair compensation. This is good. So I'm Oliver Kruse. I'm manager of innovation, strategy and new business at GEMA. And my role is identifying new business opportunities, driving innovation, and make sure that our strategic initiatives are aligned with the needs of our members and with the music industry sector. Yeah, so developing business and diversification of business is one of my topic, my work field, and that's why I'm here today.
Great, I can't wait to dive into that. Helienne, tell us about you and why you love this topic.
Yeah, my name is Helienne Lindvall. I'm from Sweden originally. Lived in New York. I've been based in the UK for over 20 years. I'm a working songwriter. I've been a professional songwriter for over 20 years. I also am the president of the European Composer and Songwriter Alliance, which is like the umbrella organization of all European songwriter and composer organizations. So we got more than 30,000 members. And we deal with the concerns of songwriters and composers, where we actually just started a CMO working group because we realized that a lot of the CMOs, a lot of our members, our board members and committee members sit on the boards of the CMOs across Europe. And when we start sharing stories, we realize that a lot of CMOs are looking into things and they're buying new companies or working on solutions in the back office, and a lot of the time they're doing exactly the same thing. So there's the reinventing the wheel many times over. And we think that obviously we want, as you said, we want as much money that is due us to get into our pockets and not be, unless you need to spend, you shouldn't spend more than you need to spend. And also, of course, we're very concerned of the money going into the right pockets.
That's right. Efficiencies are important to find.
And accuracy.
And accuracy. Christophe, Playright, tell us about you, your company, why you love this topic.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christophe van Vaerenbergh. I'm the managing director of Playright, the Belgian CMO for performing artists, both musicians as well as actors. We represent about 22,000 directly affiliated members, and we also represent the interests of several tens of thousands foreign artists with whom we have bilateral agreements. On an annual basis, we collect about 25 million euros that we then distribute afterwards. So the various topics that the other members of the panel have already mentioned are also of the utmost importance for us. Of course, efficiency, high collection, collaboration over the different kinds of challenges that we are facing. With Sound Exchange, with other CMOs, it's very important to us There are a number of challenges ahead of us. Some are being discussed in other panels, but hopefully we can come back to them later on during this conversation. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's really, I love being positive in panels and talking about the cool innovation and talking about like where you're putting investments and where you're seeing efficiencies and accuracy can be created. And we're going to get there. But in true startup pitch fashion, let's start with the challenges and the problem before we talk about the solutions. So I'm going to start with Helienne. What are the damn challenges that we are seeing in collective management and in and around this space? Because, of course, it's a multifaceted space. It's not just collection and distribution of royalties.
Well, one of the core and the biggest problems is conflicting metadata. I think anyone who works in technology, anyone who works in the music industry knows how complicated it is on the songwriter and composer side, because there are multiple owners that belong to multiple CMOs, and they all operate as silos, and there's very little kind of communication. And most people who have been around for a while know about the Global Repertoire Database, which was an initiative trying to get like a hub for all the metadata, and it fell through because a few of the CMOs, I'm not going to mention names, didn't want to collaborate. I think after all this time, we're coming around again, and I'm not saying it's going to be the Global Repertoire Database, but certainly people are realizing that it is unsustainable the way things are working at the moment. And when we're looking at the MLC, who say, you know, is the first kind of openly accessible, you can really see the issues.
It was written into the law. Back in 2018, it was written in that there would be a publicly accessible database, which is wonderful. Thank you, drafters of legislation.
You know, there's a lot of problems with the MLC, because even if you see the problem, you actually can't do anything about it as a songwriter. So that is like when I'm coming to like my top 5 list or whatever of what we're looking for, what I'm looking for as a songwriter, and I'm now speaking for, you know, most of our members, or pretty much all our members, is the first part is to get an alert if there is a problem with a registration. Like a ping, I don't need to know what it is, I just need to be alerted that you need to go in and look at this work because it's got, you know, it's missing data, there's multiple registrations, because of course nobody gets paid when that happens. And I brought this up with PROs a few years ago because a publisher came in and claimed my publishing at one PRO. And I wasn't alerted. It was only because I belong actually to 2 PROs. I went in and looked, and I realized that this publisher, who I've never had a meeting with, was claiming my publishing on an active song. And I said, could I just, they said, you know, I wrote an article about it, so the PRO was a little bit kind of, they called me in and said, what can we do? And I said, I want to ping. And they said, oh, well, wait, you know, catalogs change hands so many times, we can't do that. And I'm like, my bank pings me when I spend 50 quid. Surely, you know, there must be a way to solve this problem. And again, I think now I'm talking to CMOs, and they're much more open to that. So that is the first thing. And then the second thing is, for me to have the oversight where that problem lies. Mm-hmm. Because it is, you know, the problem being that, you know, there's multiple registrations, and there's technology, I know, but, you know, that is being developed where you can look into and see where are the problems.
Right.
And then, for me, to be able to go in and maybe not change it, because I don't want anybody to just be able to go in and change my registration, but I can make a claim, and so that the other people that are involved in the work gets a ping.
Right.
And then we can they can say, yes, this is true, no, this is untrue. And then we can solve this problem. Because the reason I look at this solution is nobody cares about my catalog more than I do. My publishers don't. I have publishers that I'm not signed to anymore.
Sure.
I have some of my catalog belongs to publishers I've never met with. So to me, it needs to come back to the people who created the works. And I know more of what happened in the studio.
And tracking and transparency and notification. So Christophe, Oliver, on this particular point, and the answer may be yes, maybe no, but curious, are you innovating in that space to improve and find a solve to that challenge? Or, yeah, go for it.
On our side of efficient tracking, real-time tracking is also a huge topic for us. Monitoring, which comes on first place in our process. And we're investing a lot and innovating a lot in our monitoring services. As you might have heard, we acquired SoundAware, the company from Netherlands, to improve identification and usage of music, to improve our matching. This is our core business. This is what we have to do good or best. And that's why the best option for us was to acquire a company with a key technology and existing user base. And this is what we are looking at in our M&A strategy, in our target screening.
What about on the notification or involving the member in that process so they can make claim, or opening up where there is conflicting data or question marks? Is there anything in that space?
Well, we are evaluating tools which can track a discrepancy between royalty claim, royalty has been paid, and royalty that could be claimed. We are doing a test cases with different companies who are specialized on this one. So this has to be improved, actually. Yeah.
Looking at it. Go ahead.
Well, in terms of documentation for performing artists, the challenges are much more important than for copyright owners or record companies, because we are faced with changing costing of groups, of the distinction between featured artists and session musicians. So for us, it's really daunting to keep tracks on that. And so we have developed tools both on an international and on a national level. On an international level, we have SCAPR, S-C-A-P-R, that have developed a number of tools. For instance, an international performance database, where we have all the data on the performers and the mandates that they have attributed to the different CMOs, preventing in that way that there's overlap and there's payments being blocked. We've also developed our own brand of repertoire database, and that's a little bit of a pity, because if you see on the overall international level, copyright CMOs, IFPI for the record producers, we for the performing artists, we tend to develop the same thing all over again with Chinese walls between them. And that is something that needs to be reconsidered in due time.
Reconsidered, meaning maybe disassembling a particular workflow?
Much more collaboration, much more, let's say, auditing of each other's quality control of each other's databases in order to enrich the data. Right. I mean, this has been also on a local level, on a Belgian level, a question from our members. And quite rightly so, for quite some time, because there's a huge overlap between my membership, well, Playright's membership of Sabam, the copyright CMO, and the membership of CMIM, the record-producing CMOs. We're all working with playlists, for instance, to conduct our distributions. There's certain data lacking, quality is not always ensured. Some are doing it in a manual way, others are using digital fingerprinting, for instance. We work with Radio Monitor and with SoundAware. So there's a lot of double effort getting into that
Do any of
operation.
you feel that AI can really help create that efficiency and accuracy in this work, in this challenge?
We're already using it. We're already using it in terms of web crawling, for instance, for the playlists. It does present a number of opportunities, but also challenges. But it's being used as we speak.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting, and I used to be a performer, and on some of my stuff I am a performer too. So I'm quite familiar with, well, in the UK PPL, in Sweden SAMI, on the performer side, and the issues that are are being dealt with there, and because it's a younger rights industry in a way, it's a bit, and in certain countries, performer rights came later. You know, you look at in America, so there's a bit kind of all of these different CMOs have kind of operated independently, and like when it comes to identifiers, because I've done some kind of meetings with Scapper, and initially they hadn't even agreed on the same identifiers. It seems like they have now, hopefully. But what he's saying and what you're saying about collaboration is so important. And I think that's why we started our CMO working group, because we realized that we're in a unique situation, because in Europe, for example, you know, they're all competing against each other, because you can, as a songwriter and a publisher, you can, you know, become a member of whichever CMO you want to. So there tends to be a very kind of protective attitude. And for us, I don't want to mess with that. Of course, you can do the licensing separately, and you need to, you know, fight your battles locally with broadcasters and everything. But the back office really needs to be developed collaboratively. And when you look at the performer CMOs and the copyright, the composer CMOs, you know, putting together the ISWC and the ISRC, and getting that with the audio file, like that's another request I would have, like that. Of course, because you have a recording when a record is supposed to go out, and a lot of the time, at least when it is out on a streaming service, you have a link to that you can automatically put that in, so that there is an identification, an audio identification right
file.
there.
Yeah.
To address this issue, a very good point, we established a sound file upload on GEMA site. So if you register your work, you also can, it's an option, upload also to track or send the link to Spotify. And so we use it of course, for our monitoring system to improve that, and also to a better matching with work code and recording code. So it's used, it's popular by our members, but it started 2 years ago, so it's growing. But this is the steps we do from our direction to address a part of this problem. Yeah.
I have a question around if every kind of technology you can possibly imagine was created and perfect, and you know all the companies were well funded here who are innovative, and you could have any kind of flow of collective or not collective management of licensing, of the use of music being matched, and distribution of revenue made in the most, or payment made in the most efficient way possible, what would your perfect world of licensing look like? I'm going to ask you first, if you can think about that.
Well, the perfect world would be I do click once and everything is perfect licensed and tracked and paid out immediately after usage.
Right.
So this would be our perfect world for our members, of course. But
each micro use of music,
exactly, micro use,
audio fingerprinting technology or what have you, monitoring, reporting, matched up to all the proper allocation made of every stakeholder.
Exactly.
And payment of every micro penny made into direct deposit.
Exactly.
And into all the accounts.
At the time that it's used, so.
Yeah. And are you working towards that? Christophe, I feel like you're sitting in that space thinking about it.
What I'm especially thinking about is not so much in terms of technology, but in terms of communication. And what we have noticed is that if you have the most perfect system in the world and you have the most fluent technology and everything goes well, you still have to convince people to use music. And communication is a very important one. So what we have learned, for instance, from the experience of PPL PRS for music is that when you have a positive communication, if you can give the users of your repertoire a clear illustration of the added value of music, you will have an increase in your revenue of about 16%. That's what PPL PRS for music had when they started communicating in a positive way and not like some sort of a tax authority saying, you're using our music, you have to pay. You have to pay this amount. So a very positive communication there as PPL-PRS for music, but also in the Netherlands, Buma Stemra and Sena have done, is very much key. So it should not only be about technology, it should not only be about identifying opportunities, it should also be about the added value. That's for the moment a very interesting project on a European level, Music 360 Degrees, that is being conducted specifically to concentrate and to get more attention on this added value of communication. So that's a very important one. The technology, we can sort it out. I mean, there will always be quality issues and there will be economies of scale. Certainly when we're talking about online exploitation of our repertoire, UGC platforms streaming where we're talking about terabytes of data, there we have some real challenges. But again, I'm quite confident that technology can overcome those challenges in due time.
And Oliver, I know you had thoughts on this.
Yeah, regarding this study, we're also working on a study of impact of music. So this is when we do licensing deals with venues and restaurants and so on. Then this is our approach and say, okay, if you're playing music, if you're playing our repertoire, then your revenue goes up. So when we have this as a proof, and that's why it's a very important step in this direction.
But all this work is so very costly, and I know that in finding ways to pay for it, sometimes you might step out of your, let's call it statutory mandate, and look for innovative businesses that might generate revenue for your collective management organization. I know you guys at GEMA are doing that, right? You're looking at other businesses. I know I'm sort of switching gears from perfect licensing. We're going to come back to it in a moment. But around, let's go into the entrepreneurship side or the innovation side. Is what you're looking at related to the collection and distribution and the management of royalties, or what are you doing there?
Well, the main working field is to be more efficient, to provide a better service, and to understand better the needs of our members. So of course we were looking, okay, this is the music production system, the value chain, and we are here, we're administrative licensing, and we've done this for 100 years and it's working. But what are the needs of our members which we could fulfill today or in future? So we did an analysis and we scanned the market, and one result was the funding of an online distribution service. It's called Music Hub. This is our company where the members can distribute their music for free, and with the advantage that as soon as you register your recordings, your works at Music Hub, it also be registered at our database and vice versa. So this was a step in this new business. We want to provide additional service to our members, not just administrative and licensing, but okay, this is my starting point. I put my music to GEMA, and they help me somehow to exist and to generate revenue in the music field.
So you're competing with distribution services like Believe and
yes.
the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yes, since 2 years.
And you're in that space with this goal of generating revenue to lower the admin fee.
Mm-hmm. To lower the admin fee, of course, because it's an automated digital process, and also to make our members able to generate more revenue.
Right, because lower admin fee puts more money in the pockets of your members.
Exactly.
Is there innovation happening in that external entrepreneur, sort of relationship of, looking into other businesses?
It's a little bit of a sensitive topic for us, because as a CMO, we're working in a tightly regulated environment. Yes. You have the CRM directive. We in Belgium, we had already one of the most strict Copyright Neighboring Rights Act in that regard. Actually, the CRM directive was inspired on the Belgian law. There's GDPR, privacy. There is a lot of challenges in terms of non-discrimination. So we have been looking into, let's say, providing extra services, extra information, extra transparency into the revenues that are being collected by the, let's say, high-earning members. But unfortunately, there's a fierce competition with agencies such as Cobalt that represent a lot of international stars. And that's not that obvious for us to develop, quite frankly. There's a number of options, but again, the regulatory framework is not really working to our benefit in that respect.
Helienne, is the working group looking at sort of those conversations with how collective management can help to lower fees to get more money in the pockets of songwriters or something in that space?
Yeah, I think, I mean, and this is mostly I mean, that additional service is a little bit harder to kind of, that would be just an extra service for your members. But when it comes to the collaboration of cleaning up metadata, and also making it more transparent. I know transparent is such a kind of like Latin word that can mean so many different things, but I think as a music creator, as a songwriter, that, you know, being able to have a better oversight of your catalog and what is happening to your catalog. And I think with AI, even though, you know, there are ways that AI can help, but also it could also the whole issue of opting in and opting out, which is something that has been discussed a lot, even on a panel that I was on before, where we as songwriters have the opportunity to kind of do individual opt-in or opt-out. There's the kind of on the sync, in the sync area that was presented yesterday, where, you know, we know that there's a lot of opportunities that we miss for smaller licensing opportunities, because you got the big publishers or publishers overall not communicating with their CMOs, not communicating with the writers themselves. And we're not even aware that these opportunities exist. So I think for us, anything that will give us more access and power to, and empower us to license. I think it's always been this image that, oh, we want to block things. We want to, you know, block our music from being used for YouTube or for this and that or for AI. But we're not against our music being used for AI. We just want to make sure that we are part of the infrastructure and that we get paid when our music is used to train AI, and when there is music put out that has used our music for training. So I think, you know, anything that can kind of enable us to have that choice. We want to be able to have that choice, and we want to be able to exercise it. That is, you know, on our list of things to. And I think with CMOs we're actually, as songwriters, a lot of people like a lot of publishers say, oh, let's just get rid of CMOs, because they're like, it's complicated, it's antiquated, you know, they don't like blanket licensing and whatever. And I think for songwriters and composers, we always feel that the organizations that are the closest to us are the CMOs, because we can sit on the boards and we can affect the outcome. And the smallest creator is involved as well as the biggest creator. And that's what kind of makes it empowering for all songwriters and composers.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about getting paid, it makes me think of the valuation of the license. And it makes me think of direct licensing, that it's activity that's happening amongst many of the rights owners with licensees. Are you looking at capturing in that space? There's two questions there, I think. One is about capturing that relationship instead of it going outside of the collective management organization between two lawyers, one for a licensor and one for a licensee doing a direct deal. But number two, about valuation in this space? You know, I mean, it's government tariffs, it's things that are very, you know, set in a blanket licensing system. What are your thoughts on direct licensing? I know, Oliver, you and I were talking earlier, but yeah.
Well, of course, we talk about this one-click license, and then this would improve the efficiency of our process a lot. The problem is, which we realize, is that you have to put so many rights holder and stakeholder on one table, and this makes things really complicated. On our side, we have the composition, yeah, and it's a huge effort to put the masters owners to find a consensus in these topics. Maybe in a niche or in a focused field, this could be possible, could be a great solution, but on the broad field, it's a huge obstacle. So we are evaluating this, and of course, from the perspective of our members, our customers, are easy to make automated real-time tracking license solution would be a good thing. You know, but there are political and internally politically hurdles to take, which make it hard. Maybe in a perfect world, as you said.
In a perfect world. And Christophe, do you have any thoughts around that direct licensing piece?
For the moment in Belgium, the remuneration rights are predominant. So we're working with, on one hand, with tariffs that are being set by the government in consultation with the various stakeholders. On the other hand, we're working with indirect with contractual negotiations, for instance, for the cable retransmission rights. And that is a very important one. When you talk about valuation, again, it pertains to what is the value that you will have attributed to a music recording and to the contribution in terms of my constituency, the contribution of the performing artists. So that is a very difficult one. And I have somewhat of the impression that it differs from one country to another. What we have learned, for instance, that in certain aspects, local content is very important, and the economic value of local content in the entire repertoire that you represent is still significant and should be then promoted somewhat more. But in terms of valuation, there's not a lot of data out there, not a lot of methodologies, objective methodologies that enables us to attach a certain value to the use of music or audiovisual repertoire. And it's sometimes difficult then to have negotiations and to have discussions around that. In any event, to my experience. So there's also a lack of transparency on the side of, for instance, streaming platforms, broadcasters. Sometimes difficult to get a hold of certain data.
Maybe AI can help. It is a very good data collector. Just putting it out there. Okay, so anyone want to build? So what is that innovative practice that you wish a company would build out here to help develop new business for your organizations or communities?
There's a lot.
Go for it. Give us a wish list.
Well, what we realized, and this is not just our problem, that I think it's a problem of the most CMOs in the world. There's a long tail of artists, of composers who barely live of the music. So it's a huge long tail, and our challenge is how do we make them successful? And what we are trying to do is we have a partnership with companies, with startups, which offering tools and services to make the musician successful on the market, like playlist pitching, promotion, marketing, AI music production, so I can easily produce fast. And in this direction, so we're open if you're a company or a startup which offers a tool or a service who could serve as a benefit for our members. This is one step in this direction. The more successful our members are, the more income they generate, the more come to our society and and collaborate with us. This would be a great thing if we could find a way there. But of course, it's a hard topic. and it's an individual case much often.
Yeah. Christophe, I'm going to actually jump to you, but one of the things I've noticed is as I talk to, on the neighboring rights, some of the scapper societies, is their mandate is to pay human beings, not AI. But when you get a performance report, how to decipher what is an AI recording and AI performers versus a human being performer. And legally, are you looking into this? Is this a challenge? Is this something you're wishing to find a solution for?
It's very funny because just a couple of days ago, or I think last week, we had a question from one of our public broadcaster, and they have created some sort of an AI musician, female artist, well, so to speak, female artist, and they were inquiring whether or not we could register it as a member. But unfortunately for them, our bylaws are very specific on that point. It should be a physical person.
Thank the Lord.
Thank Jesus and the Lord. But this being said, we only accept as members for our performance CMO, we only accept physical persons. We do not even accept companies. So in terms of tax optimization, etc., that doesn't work with us. You have to be a physical person. And that is actually a topic that we should be very careful about on international level, where we have this international performance database, that there's no contamination of that database with AI profiles. I think that would be detrimental. We all know that the system is being played. Spotify, Deezer, other types of platforms are being played by algorithms, by AI situations. And that is something that we should be very much aware of.
And, I mean, are you working with some of these AI companies to decipher, to sift through the playlists and through the performance reports? And
no, not at this time.
Yeah.
Because we procure our playlists from third parties, outside parties, such as Radio Monitor, Soundware, and others. We go through those. There is a quality control. But when talking about the long tail, I mean, just to give you an example, when we were talking about a radio playlist from Radio Monitor, it contains about between 95 and 98,000 unique tracks. So there's always this consideration: does the effort is that important to you in terms of what are you going to distribute? If you're going to invest 10 euros to distribute €1, leave it be.
I guess it's more also about the actual registrations, like because this is the thing that CMOs obviously have to deal with too. It's like, how do you know if this was somebody registers that they wrote it or AI wrote it? You know, I mean, that again is, you know, even with technology, I mean, there's been some great. I actually am very inspired by all the kind of ideas and ideas for solutions for music creators that are being developed and that have been presented and talked about at this conference. And you know, there has been detection, you know, discussions with companies developing detection and the you know, the problems with it, the cat and mouse game of trying to, you know, be able to detect it. But as I say, you know, just because, you know, don't let the perfect be the enemy of action, any action at all. We haven't eradicated piracy, but, you know, it still exists, but we've come up with solutions that are better, that are you know, creating quality and a better customer experience. So I think that, you know, it's something that we should definitely approach, even if it's, or we should think of it and work with these tech companies, whether it's perfect or not.
Right. I want to turn this over to our audience. Does anyone have questions or comments? Tom? Oh, microphone. Here it comes.
We can always count on Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Here we go. Get comfortable. All right, first of all, I've got an issue with Diversify on the screen in front of us because I don't think that CMOs should be diversifying their business. I mean, if you really want to make more money and start selling furniture or do car washes, great, but I don't think it's a good idea. I appreciate your effort to try to help young songwriters, but that's not really new business. That's just like an adjunct, because it's not your responsibility to make your members a success. It's only your responsibility to be a collective management organization, do licensing, collect money, and pay them. But my biggest point here is it's weird to me that this is the 7,000th panel that I've sat on for, or been to with collective management organization, and all we talk about is distribution. We don't talk about collection. And when people come to our clients and say, oh, we've got a great solution, it's better than GEMA or Playright, we can get you 10% more money, well, that's just out of somebody else's pocket. That's not new money that's being found. They're just saying, I'm going to take it out of your pocket and give it to the other guy, because it's the same pie, and they're just redistributing the same thing. Nobody ever comes to the songwriters to say, we're going to grow the business and give everybody more money. We never hear this at a panel. So how do you do that? I got 4 things that I would suggest need to be addressed. And these are all magic things. They're not easy, but I would think these are where the areas we should be discussing more. The first one is, as I say now, let's discuss collection more than just distribution, to foster new ways to get people to give more money. Most important of the 3, though, is clarity to users. There are so many users out there, literally millions of people in the world, I'd say 90% of the world, that doesn't know the difference between a recording and a composition. Let's find easy, clear ways to explain this to the public. Maybe CISAC should drive it so that it's the same words in every country in the world, but let's just keep it to 2 paragraphs and explain succinctly to users what the hell it is that they're being taxed for, because that's all they see. Second thing is rates. I almost never get a client that says you charge too much. They don't. What they say is, what's everybody else paying? Because I don't want to pay more than them. So if we were to make everybody know that they're not getting ripped off, this is the price. It's very clear, it's a really big number, everyone has to pay it, this is the national PRO, well, that's what makes people comfortable. And you will get more people paying it immediately because they don't feel diddled. And then thirdly, let's change the way we approach licensees. I don't like the concept of a license application. I know why we do it, because it feels like they're getting the privilege of being able to use our music. Okay, fine. But it's not how the public sees it. They just brought their radio in and turned it on in the Pizza Hut. They don't want to have to do an application. Just find a different word, register, something like this. Put in your information, here's your credit card, make it easy. I know Unisono has been doing a good job at this in Belgium. Massive improvement from 3 years ago when it was a travesty, so well done to Belgium for improving things, but it could be better. So that clarity and ease and the attitude towards licensees of simply saying, here's what you have to pay, this is how easy it is to do, pay it. Those are the direction we should be traveling so that everybody makes more.
Yeah. Thank you for that feedback, Tom, because yes, licensing, fabulous. Licensees have been a very challenging side of it, and we don't hear enough on innovation in the licensing departments. And I love that you said that, and thank you, and here's the opinion of a moderator, but I want to hear what my colleagues here have to say on that.
Yeah, so I think you make some really good points, Tom. And I think to add to that, when you're talking about like people not knowing the difference between a recording and a composition and the rights and everything, I think we need to teach music creators that. Because the amount of music creators that are coming into the business that have no idea that they should register with a performance rights organization, they've never heard of it. They know TuneCore, for example, or whatever the distributor is, and they don't get like a prompt. They don't get any kind of education on the platform either. I mean, we should have that. We are actually starting a lot, and I think to have that conversation in the UK because of our streaming inquiry. everyone has started to sit around the table. And one of the missing pieces has been the distributors. And they've always said, well, we're competing, so we don't want to sit around the same table with other people. And I'm talking about independent distributors now, because that's where a lot of bad data comes in and where there's a lot of missing information and education.
Sure.
And so we're trying to audit and see what is the knowledge out there on the platform. What kind of information can we give you to kind of simplify the registration, to register all the rights, and to tell music creators, you're missing out on money.
Yeah. I mean, I look at that legislation in the United States on the Music Modernization Act that created the MLC, Mechanical Rights Society. The beautiful piece of that legislation, besides the publicly available database for all it's worth, was that there had to be an allocation in the budget to awareness campaigns, including on both the DSP side as well as the MLC side. So a Spotify rep has to go out and educate and talk about, hey, creators, here in this case, publishers, do you know about the mechanical right? Are you collecting? Have you gone and registered, et cetera? So yes, awareness campaigns constantly, but I love when it's embedded into a federal law. So having more legislation that makes it a requirement of the parties involved, it would be a great step. Christophe, comment.
Yeah, just to come back on the comments that Tom made. Thank you for the compliment about Unisono. It was a huge effort. We're still beating up people from Saban on a daily basis to improve the user experience. But it's a central issue, not only for the users of our repertoire, but also for our own members, that we have a user-friendly experience when they're declaring their repertoire, when they're consulting the financial history of the payments, etc. So again, communication here is a key element. That is something that we stress a lot. We go out there to the conservatoria, to music educations, to get young artists aware of the business side, of the economic side of what we're doing, and also the legal side, because oftentimes they are not really aware that there is such a thing as a neighboring right. They're signing away their rights, they want to get promoted, they want to get published, and so oftentimes you get dramatic effects there. But we play a very important role as a CMO in that respect, that we're not only collecting and distributing, we also have social, cultural, and educational activities. We have grants, we have scholarships that benefit certainly emerging actors, but also musicians. We're witnessing now a period in time where policy is retracting a little bit from the cultural atmosphere, where there's not so much budget available as there used to be to invest in new music, new audiovisual productions, to go abroad, to have support for tours. And that is something that we have been developing, both Sabam, Copyright CMO, and Playright, to have a lot of grants and scholarships that we're opening up to new and emerging artists. That's a very promising field. We could have a whole academic, philosophical, political discussion about whether it's our role or not, but there's certainly a demand for it, and it's one way that we are filling in our role. And the last thing that I would emphasize in terms of collection and diversification, there's about half of the world's population that does not know neighboring rights, performance rights. We've seen the creation in 2021 in China of a CMO for record producers. The name is unfortunate, it's called CAFCA, C-A-F-C-A. But it's working, and there is an evolution there that's very predominant. There's now a collaboration between India, Indonesia, which are two of the most populated countries in the world, Thailand and Singapore, together with IFPI and local organizations, to have a distribution and collecting platform. It's called SoundSys. If you don't know it, check into it. But there's a lot of things that's happening right now, and we're sometimes a little bit too Eurocentric. There are emerging markets in Asia, in Africa, where our repertoire will be present, if it's not already present, and where there are opportunities to collect as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Oliver.
I have something to add to the new business point. We are led by our members, and the important decisions are made by our members. And we are a non-profit organization. And if our members have a need of a service, might it be mastering or distributing, then we have to find ways and provide this service. This is the advantage which we can give as a CMO to our members compared to other forms of organizations. And this is one of our most important topic, and that's why we are still relevant after hundreds of years.
So you asked your members,
Exactly,
do you want
yeah.
a distribution service
Exactly,
and have it
yeah.
come out of us, and they voted or provided?
Yes, we have lots of workshops, ideation workshop, where we first ask, what do you need? What should we as a CMO give to you? And just think freely beside, okay, core business, but do you expect a service from us in the next 5 years, which you wish as a composer? And if there's a decision and if there's a need, we have to make it happen, without looking at the economical side at first, of course. So that's why we do this diversification.
And I think we're at time. Are we at time? Oh, I want to thank my wonderful panelists here. Thank you for giving us your feedback, and I'm sure they're open and around to talk to afterwards if there's more questions. So thank you so much for being here and listening.
Thank
Bye.
you very much.